life coach, life on life's terms coach, because life is life. And it is Sunday and it's story time today. I want to thank you all for being here. I know you're not here yet. We're feeding an algorithm, but it means a lot to me for those of you who've subscribed to this channel in the past, whether it's been 5 days ago, 5 years ago, five months ago, what have you, or in those who will subscribe in the future. So I want to thank you because you're choosing to feed an algorithm. And what I hope that this algorithm does is it's a healing algorithm in a time when you could be watching some chaos. And I watch some chaos too. I'm not totally innocent here. And that's the thing is that we get comfortable living in our own skin and we realize that we can be empowered and not be innocently and blindly walking into stuff as I used to think that I did when I started learning to be empowered, learning empowerment because it wasn't something I just woke up with. Thank you for those thumbs up. Is that Kim or Pam? So, I had to learn to realize that I wasn't innocent and I wasn't blind, that I was walking into things based on what I knew at the time, my vibration. People talk about woo woo vibration, but I was, the energy that I emitted from myself, my body, my glove. Greetings to you. Thank you for being here. And good morning, darling Kim. Grinch and I appreciate you. We love you so much, don't we, Grinch? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Grinch be blending in with the earrings today. So, yes, thank y'all for being here. So our topic today is who am I really? And are you living your life or are you playing a role? That's what we're going to discuss this morning because so many of us, we've talked about, thank you. That's the Grinch. Ramon, good morning. How are you doing today? So yeah, we're going to, lead into a story, but as always, I'm going to brief you through what we've talked about through the week or last few weeks. We've talked about that ACE test and how that creates the characters that we portray. And then Friday night, we talked about other ways, like through personality test, who we get to know ourselves better. Or maybe, somebody follows astrology, and I do believe that the planets and energies have a lot of things going on. I don't know if you know where you all work, but a lot of times with the police departments, and I know some of y'all work closely with things that happen with the police department, is that things get crazy on the full moon. Things get crazy. And then in the hospitals, in the schools. So you try to tell these people that this full moon energy is woo-woo, and what this is meant really when we can roll with it, We talked about the 5 essential elements last week and about how elements can affect our lives and control some of the things, or how we can use them in guidance. Because whether you use those personality tests, some people use the astrology, and I believe there's stuff to astrology and the energy because the reason the moon is so effective in these times is because the moon moves the seas, right? And if the moon is strong enough to move the seas and water are indicative of feelings, your tears. And so sometimes that's why at the full moons, we may be brought to tears. For women during the full moon, we have cycles sometimes. And a lot of women dismiss their feelings because of, hormonal things, and other people dismiss the feelings. But the real deal is the feelings are still there. They just are more intense at these times. So being able to understand how these things affect us, the moon and our moods and these kind of things. And so when we realize that we're not just putting here in default, that everything is divinely connected and wholly directed, and I mean WHOLLY. Good morning, Don. Grinch Don says good morning too. Grinch got his fan club. So, and sometimes we wonder the what, when, where, how, and why, but we're looking at it outside of ourselves. We look at the tarot cards, and I'm not saying that the tarot cards, astrology, or any of that's wrong, because those can give us information, as long as we're not looking to those things to identify who we are exactly, because those childhood experiences also base who we are as well. I think next week, I know that when I was growing up, even though I grew up in crazy town, or whatever, my family put the funk and dysfunctional. At one time we were, my dad stayed sober through religion. And so we had things in the house that said, children learn what they live, you see. And a lot of us learned what we live. And you're going to find that in our story today, that sometimes we adapt to those things and consider this is our reality. But when we look at how we can expand our reality, when we start to get hope but not lose faith in hope, we start building our trust muscles and our faith muscles. I always tell my clients we're building mental muscles and emotional stamina, because the emotions, I work in addiction recovery, and these emotions can cause it hard to cope. We don't like feeling these emotions. And the cool thing is when we don't identify ourselves and label ourselves based on the emotions, label ourselves based on certain things, label ourselves on what people have said outside of ourselves, when we get to be empowered, we get to embrace our intuition more so and bring those dreams and goals and visions to fruition. So with the full moon, I know I was out there saging last night and praying last night, because releasing those things that hold me back and keep me in lack. And a lot of us have these, whether it's thoughts and ideas, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, our own self, our own, you know, thinking small. Sometimes we need to release the thoughts that we are not significant, because we are and we aren't. I had a client the other day, Friday, and her mantra is going to be, I'm especially special, because I'm special and I'm not special. You're special and you're not special, because we're in humility. We learn that we don't have to strive to be any more special, that somebody else's specialness doesn't take our specialness away, right? So a lot of us strive to be more special than somebody else, and we can celebrate all of our specialness. And that's what this channel is meant for, Don. Again, if you tell me one, thank you, crazy. Well, I've embraced my crazy. I have some crazy in me, and I've embraced my crazy. Comparison is a thief of joy. You're right, Maglob. Not only is it the thief of joy, it's the thief of self-esteem, because when you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you're taken away from yourself. So when we realize, and that's what I like to help people do, because I used to compare too. I used to think, oh, they're more interesting than I am. Oh, they're more this than I am. Oh, they're more that. And then when I had to learn to put that on my mirror, I am good enough, and learn to sit with that instead of focusing on that comparison. So that was very helpful for me. So we're going to do the summary for last week's topics and bring it into a story this week so we can begin next week. And as I was saying, I think that I'm going to start off next week with the children learn what they live, that plaque that hung up in my house, because it's true. It's true. And I used to tell my children, I hope that you get mine and your father's positive qualities, and that you heal from our negative qualities, because the reality is that we all have positive and negative within us. A lot of times we're either going from one extreme to the other in ownership of that. And really, we talked about Friday night about how we can turn survival skills into tangible tools. Don, no, I meant about telling people the full. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, no worries, Don. No worries. Thank you for clarifying that, though, because I wasn't sure. So, yes, the full moon, it puts us in touch with the crazy. I used to work for the schools and as security, and so some crazy things would be happening up in the school with the full moon. But I've learned to have a relationship with that. And this is the thing, it's about a lot of us with our negative traits. We don't develop a relationship with that. Like my addiction, I respect my addiction. I respect my addiction. I have a relationship with my addiction. And I have learned who I am. It's not like I'm trying to say I'm not this. I like I don't talk about specific belief systems here, because I believe in a lot of things, that a lot of the belief systems, I believe that the bottom line is love, no matter how you look at it. But Jesus was always saying, I am. When people accused him of stuff, he's like, I am, whatever. Because it doesn't matter what other people say about you. It's that your truth. And so we do have the negative and the positive within us. And so it's healing the negative so that we can enhance more of the positive, and not try to hide the positive, because sometimes we have the positive, and to fit in with the negative, we're like bouncing back and forth. Alfred Hitchcock. I'm so sorry. That is such a hard loss. Hard loss. Oh, bless you. I don't know what that's like yet. I was just thankful yesterday I did get to talk to my mom. And my mom, she's done some throw it off stuff. I have too. and we've had a relationship. But I was so grateful because our moms can get on our nerves sometimes, or mine can. I love her. She might be watching now. But anyway, I was so grateful that I could hear her voice yesterday. Because someday I know that I'm not. My mom's, up there in years now. So being grateful, even, we don't have to stay stuck. Okay. My glove had a teacher that said the only person you need to compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. I've seen that too, my glove. That I think that's very good and sound and solid advice. What made you start streaming and what keeps you going? Max Kyler. Well, we're building a community here, and I wanted to help people the way that I had been helped. I think that that's what a lot of people, their intention is. So it's being in alignment with my intention and motivation. And I thank you for asking. That's a good question. And it is so I could help people think differently because I understand about how. John London, it's good to see you this morning. I'm grateful for you too, and I'm grateful for this community because I understand what it's like to be trapped inside my mind and my body and my soul and knowing that there's more for me out there, but not feeling like I was a part of things. And that's what I love this. And that's what keeps me streaming. And that's why I love this community because I understand feeling like the outsider looking in, like peeking in the window and like wishing I could have that. I'm so grateful for you too, darling. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for moderating and being here this morning. So we're going to start. I got my notes here and we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you again for all you for being here and thank you for this community and thank you for being here, Alfred Hitchcock. I hope that this is helpful. I am lucky and I am blessed. I am. I did lose my son, and so we lose people and it's very sad when we lose people. And I don't ever tell people I'm a grief coach as well. Thank you, John London. And what I learned through my grief is to walk through it with grace. But I used to hear songs that talked about grace as a kid growing up in the Baptist church, and I didn't know what that was until I lost a loved one like my son. And I was like, this is what grace feels like. Because it's sometimes when you feel like you're going to die, it's when you got grace, So there's comes that spark, that hope, that grace. I can't explain it because I heard the word all the time and I didn't know what it was. Thank you, Kim. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So in talking about this, today, who am I really? And are you living your life or playing a role? In this children learn what they live. I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow night. Okay. But so for our weekly summary for the past week or two, we've talked about, how the personality test, we talked about that on Friday night. We talked about the Big Five and the Myers-Briggs test, and how we can gather information about our personal realities. And I think tests are really great, in learning about ourselves and being that outsider looking in and not even knowing how to get in touch with myself. Was it, I took a test one time at a church I went to, a Unity church. And so they had these tests. And so from the answers of the test, what it came out was that my belief system, now mind you, this was many years ago. I love people, but my belief system, the core underneath my belief system, and this was my defense and my protective mode, was that people were bad. And I didn't know I thought that way until I took this test. So sometimes we can take the test, because when we haven't been asked questions, that's what I love about doing the job that I get to do is I get to ask questions. Can y'all hear me okay? I don't watch sports. Okay, so let me go ahead and let y'all know. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. And if y'all talk about sports, I am going to be lost because I don't do sports. And so, thank you, John and Kim. And so, and we don't talk about my age here. Okay. And, Kim's up in the house, and if you talk crazy, she'll put you out. Well, there you go. There you go. Okay. So anyway, good morning, Trey. It's good to see you. So when we talked about the personality test, the ACE test, the Big Five test, the Myers-Briggs, and we talked about survival skills, about, how we overfunction with the ACE test, and It's the self-worth, the boundaries, communication, and healing. Mother hen. Yes, yes, I love her mother hen stuff. I'm like that too. I'm like the mama cat. I be pouncing. So yes. So, when I was reflecting on everything we've discussed, two questions kept coming up. Who am I really? And am I living my life, or am I playing a role? Because sometimes we don't even feel in charge of our lives, right? Or I didn't when I was thinking people were bad. That's because I know, girl, she's got me. So I know that I used to play the roles, in life, and I never could feel appreciated, even though that's what I was trying to feel. But I had to learn how to do that for myself. So that's what I try to get on here and help us to do too. So many of us don't realize that these are not the same thing, living our life or playing a role. A lot of times we get, especially when you get more 10 years behind you than you have in front of you, like I have now, is that our role, our lives are meaningful. I have to make the best of these next years of my life. It's like we don't know when our expiration date is, just as I was talking about earlier when we're dealing with grief, and to all those who are grieving, I feel for you. No one knows when their expiration date is, and life is too short to be mad at people and not to be healing. And that doesn't mean to allow people in your lives that are going to hurt you. See, I've done that before too. I thought, oh, I forgive them. Then I let them back in with this expectation that just because I forgave somebody that things were going to be better. And that wasn't true. I can forgive people, but still not subject myself to that experience. So, who we are and the roles that we learn to play can become so intertwined that we no longer know where one ends and the other begins. Just like I was talking about when I started this, is when I'm just playing a role, I'm like an outsider looking in at seeing people who are comfortable with themselves, comfortable living in their own skin. John London. I've been thinking about that too, about making the most of this life as it benefits us in the next. Absolutely. That's why I want to move to Europe, because I'm not getting younger and I want to be a European citizen next, and have universal health care when I do get older. I want to go to Rome. I study things about Rome. It's so beautiful. I look at things on the screen about Rome and I'm like, I want to go to Rome and I want to go to Egypt and I want to do these things because I'm seeing people in the 10 years ahead of me that are feeling like, what's the purpose in my life? And that's another reason I get on here, because your life has a purpose. Mine has a purpose too, but I didn't always know what it was. So if I can help you, and I know not everybody can afford a coach right now, and so, being able to help people just get that spark, that divine spark of thinking, yeah, remembering who they are and that you don't have to become a role or be somebody else. So as children, we learn how to survive the environments we grow up in. We adapt. Children are very adaptive. And we want to think that this didn't bother me. We talked about in the ACE test, if a parent had abandoned you, or if you grew up in addiction and mental illness, or if you grew up with a parent who was incarcerated, or if these things, and we want to just think that these things don't affect us as an adult, because we grow through so many different changes and challenges and chapters from adolescence to teenage, and adult years. But there's some things that still set. There's some things our beliefs were imprinted and all of this from those times. And so it does affect us. It gives us our mental dialogue. And that mental dialogue is what drives your ego or your soul, because you have your soul's direction, but your ego's protection. And also your ego gives you your drive. So it's not all bad. It's about knowing when to protect you. And if you grew up in one of those environments, then your ego can be in overdrive. And it may be trying to protect yourself even, and you may not be even speaking. So we're going to have a story like that too. Don, it affected me, came out when I was older. Yes, yes. It does sometimes come out when you're older. John London, pursuing meaning and purpose-driven life is important. Rome is really beautiful, even into the night. I know, right? And it's like, if I want to do this, I don't want to be laying on my deathbed or wishing that wishing and longing, because I didn't grow to where I am now to be longing, because that's what I did when I was peeking in the windows of other people's lives, and I wasn't a peeping Tom, y'all, but you know what I mean. is when I was seeing other people living their lives and I was thinking, oh, and I've had to learn that I can do these things. I just have to be able to perceive it, to have it as a, perspective, to align my perspectives with what I want. And that's what I try to help y'all do too. So in our roles, though, if we're playing a role, some of us learn to be the responsible one. Good morning, Mr. Simon Verde. I never received your email. I looked in spam and everything, and I did not receive it. So some of us learned to be the responsible one, and some became the caretaker. Some became the peacemaker. Some became the achiever, and some became invisible, and some became independent because depending on others didn't feel safe. No. Kim, can you put my email address in the chat for Mr. Simon Beard, please? I appreciate it. So, yeah, others became hypervigilant. Thank you, Kim. See how fast she did that? She's amazing. Others became hypervigilant, constantly reading the room and anticipating everybody else's needs. Sometimes we think that's our purpose, right? I thought that was my purpose at one time. So these roles often helped us survive. The problem is survival roles can't become our identities, you see? So we stop asking, who am I, when we're in these modes, and start asking, who do I need to be, right? Who do I need to help? Who do I need to be loved? Who do I need to be accepted? Who do I need to be to avoid rejection? Who do I need to be to feel worthy? The ACE test helps us to understand how those childhood experiences may have influenced the way that we learn to survive. Personality tests like the Myers-Briggs and the Big Five can help us to understand our preferences, tendencies, strengths, and areas for growth. Even tools like astrology, tarot, and other simple practices can offer opportunities for reflection and self-exploration. But none of these can answer the question, who am I really? Right? Why? Because those are tools. They're tools, not identities. They're insights, not definitions, but they're mirrors, right? So they're not masters. They challenge. The challenge comes to when we stop using them for awareness and start using them for direction, you see. They're just for awareness, to see what do I relate to, you know? Good morning, beautiful mama. How are you? We love you too. So, when we no longer trust ourselves, we often hand over authority to someone or something outside of ourselves, right? A personality test, a horoscope, a tarot reader, a partner, a parent, a therapist, a coach, a social media influencer. We begin asking everyone else to tell us who we are. Yet healing teaches us something different. Healing teaches us that the guidance is helpful and can bring awareness. Trust must ultimately, though, come from within, self-trust. Because almost every quality that we are searching for begins with the same word: self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-trust. Healing is not about becoming somebody new. Healing is about remembering who you are underneath the roles that you learn to play. And that brings me to today's story. Are y'all ready for this? This story is about two people, as always. I have a male and a female because we have an audience here of masculine and feminine. But we may relate with one or the other more so. So I look forward to the end of the story if you tell me who that you may relate to in these stories, okay? So let's open up that discussion. So the story is about two people who spent years searching outside of their self for answers. One lady did that, and another who spent years hiding from his own truth. Both thought they were searching for love, but they were really searching for themselves. Okay, I will. Thank you, Mr. Summonfear. So our story today. So let's take a deep breath before we get into the story, okay? So let's breathe in. And then relax. So we can be focused on the story. Breathe. And relax. Okay, I was seeing a glare on my glasses, trying to figure it out. All right, breathe in one more time. And relax. We'll breathe again at the end of this today, okay? All right. So first, meet Sarah. Meet Sarah. Sarah had one question she couldn't stop asking. Is he the one? After a painful heartbreak, she became convinced she had met her twin flame. The connection felt intense, right? The emotions felt overwhelming. The highs felt euphoric, and the lows felt devastating. She couldn't stop thinking about him, become an obsession. And because she couldn't stop thinking about him, she couldn't stop searching for answers. She visited tarot readers. She studied astrology. She watched relationship videos. Been there? I know, right, John London? She watched Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. We relate. She watched relationship videos. She searched for signs from the universe. She wanted certainty and she wanted reassurance. Most of all, she wanted someone to tell her she wasn't crazy. Every reading brought temporary relief. Every answer created new questions. Every prediction led to more uncertainty. Until one day, someone suggested that she visit a Reiki practitioner and healer. The healer listened carefully as Sarah explained the entire story, then asked Sarah a question she had never considered. She asked her, "What if this isn't about him?" Sarah blinked. The healer continued, "What if the question isn't whether he's your twin flame? What if the question is who you are without needing him to choose you?" Silence. The healer explained that what Sarah believed was passion might actually be a dysregulated nervous system responding to uncertainty. And the pursuit felt exciting. The longing felt familiar. The need for validation felt normal. Because deep down, Sarah had spent most of her life trying to prove her worth. The relationship wasn't creating a wound, it was exposing it. For the first time, Sarah realized something. She wasn't actually searching for him, she was searching for herself. I know, right? Yes, John London. And yes, Mom, I hope Raven does too. But yes, psychically. And I used to like think this twin flame thing was normal. And, I didn't understand the toxicity of the twin flame. Is yes, it probably can have the positive effect, but it can also have a toxic effect. And like Sarah's understanding and learning is that she had to learn herself. He couldn't give her the answers to herself. He was not love. I had to learn that too when I went to the Reiki coach, the healer, and everything. Is I had to learn that too, that love that I thought was outside of me was actually inside of me, that I was a part of that love. I wasn't missing love because I lost him, or, we're not missing love because we lose her. The love is inside of us, you see. It's about like claiming that stuff. That's where empowerment is when we claim it, even the negative, it gives us power because we start learning how to use it in a way that's going to be beneficial to ourselves and others, not just self-serving and self-seeking, but being able to connect with others through our healing process. So she was searching for herself. She had spent years asking cards, stars, readers, and relationships to tell her who she was, when what she really needed was to learn how to trust herself. Love light is within 100%, and sometimes the wound is where the light enters you, as Remy said. Exactly. And that bowl that has, is it the Japanese bowl that has the cracks that are filled with gold? I always suggest to people, go ahead and cry, let that stuff out, because when we let that yucky stuff out, we let the good stuff in. So, yeah. What she really needed to learn was how to trust herself. Months later, Sarah was walking out of the healing center feeling stronger than she had in years. And as she left, another client was walking in. Let's call him Michael. Michael's struggle looked different. He wasn't searching for answers. He was hiding from them. Growing up, expressing feelings didn't feel safe. Being vulnerable felt dangerous. Needing people felt risky. So Michael learned to protect himself. He stayed guarded. He avoided difficult conversations. He looked for flaws in relationships before people could disappoint him. If Sarah's role was chasing validation, Michael's role was avoiding vulnerability. Both were survival strategies. Both were roles, and neither reflected who they truly were. Through therapy, Michael learned that communication was not weakness. Feelings were not weakness. Being human was not weakness. He learned how to speak honestly, how to express himself, how to ask questions instead of making assumptions, how to stay present when conversations felt uncomfortable. Eventually, he began dating someone he genuinely cared about. But as time passed, he realized they wanted different futures. The old Michael would have stayed out of guilt, out of obligation, and out of fear. The healed Michael did something different, though. He honored himself and he honored her. He communicated honestly. And he let the relationship go with kindness. For the first time, he wasn't making choices based on fear. He was making choices based on self-trust. So bringing it all together, Sarah and Michael looked very different. One chased and one avoided. I've talked about the anxious attachment and the avoidant. One looked outside herself for answers, and one hid from expressing his truth. Both were living from the roles they had learned to survive. And both eventually found freedom when they stopped asking, what do I need to do to be enough? John London, you went through that too, and you like this story. Good. I'm glad that it's relatable. Thank you so much. So both were living from roles that they had learned to survive, and both eventually found freedom when they stopped asking, what do I need to do to be enough? And started asking, who am I when I stop performing? When I start setting boundaries, saying, no, I don't think so. Thank you. That is did you hear Grinch going, anyway, that's the question I want to leave you with today. Who am I when I stop performing? Who are you underneath the caretaker? Who are you underneath the achiever? Who are you underneath the people pleaser? Who are you underneath the rescuer? Who are you underneath the strong one? Who are you underneath the role? Because healing isn't about just becoming someone else. It's about having the courage to stop performing long enough to remember who you've been all along. So I ask you again, who am I really? And am I living my life or am I playing a role? Looking like Meryl Streep. So thank you, John London, for knowing that you related with that. Did anyone else relate with that today? And if anything else, relating with the roles that you may be playing, because that's the intention of bringing this about, is sometimes we don't even realize that we're playing these roles. And that we can get off that hamster wheel of playing the roles because we don't feel like ourselves. We feel like we're just going through life. And, I'm always saying, here we grow, that we're not going through it. We can be growing through it. And that's where the empowerment is when we realize we can be growing through these things. Thank you, John London. Ha, that's the best compliment of the day. Thank you. I appreciate that. She's amazing. I love Meryl Streep. Yeah. Thank y'all. Y'all the best. Thank you, Tom. Tom's Doctrina. So I hope that this story was helpful today, that it's going to be able to help you moving forward to where, in the weeks we can ask, what am I playing a role or am I getting to be me? And I don't suggest that people start just, going crazy and everything. But I know that for us, for me in recovery, how did you come up with the name Worrying, Willing, or Working on It for the video? That was creatively timing. Well, thank you, Simon the Madam Age. Thank you for acknowledging that, because sometimes I ask, for the SEO generated, and that was not a SEO generated. That was me. So I do come up with some stuff sometimes, and that's my creativity. And that's what I try to help others do, is to be able to own that. And it's something that I've done on my journey. Am I working on it? I have to be willing to work on it. So that's what it is. Good morning, Greg. You missed the story already. So, but I'll kind of rephrase it, but I'm just glad that you're here. What we talked about today is that, the ACE test and all the different ways. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. So yeah, I'm so glad that y'all are here. We talked about the different ways that we find ourselves, and that sometimes we look outside of ourselves to see, who am I? But who your identity is within yourself. Good morning, Greg. So your identity is within you, but it's good to notice what we relate to outside of ourselves, but not putting all of our energy. Will I be doing a stream on reincarnation? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I don't know that I will or I won't. Saving, I think I'm going to start the week off on Monday, tomorrow, when we're talking about children learn what they live. I shared earlier that, I grew up in, well, anyone who watches this knows I grew up in addiction. I had an addictive father and a codependent mom. I know you're here, Mom. I'm not talking about you like you're not in the room. But anyway, she's my number one fan. But so I grew up with this dysregulation, and so I try to help people with that. I don't know what that was talking about. Oh, but the plaque in the house. So I was saying that tomorrow we'll probably be talking about children learn what they live, because that plaque hung up in our house because for 5 years my dad was sober. Where's the parrot? He's right behind me. Thank you, Kim. I know you got me, girl. Grinch is behind me. He'll come out in a minute probably when we start breathing. But honestly, you have a wonderful way of explaining complex things clearly to people. Thank you very much. I hope so. I try to, because yes, a lot of us spend our lives trying to make things make sense. And I know I did. That's why I share a lot of the things that I share, is it's like trying to make it make sense and trying to connect the dots. And that's what makes me an amazing coach, is that I'm able to connect some dots, but through active listening and stuff. So I listen, but I don't just listen and say, okay, your hour's up, because sometimes it takes more than an hour. I don't just cut people off. So sometimes it takes people more than an hour. So I'm one of these, I listen and I'm like, oh, and I know to ask these questions. And it's just like a conversation, right, Kim? With working with me, it's just like we're having a conversation, but I hope that I get people to consider themselves, to learn how to speak, because so many people don't feel comfortable getting to speak, and so they have to have a listener to be able to speak. And so I'm able to listen and I'm able to ask questions, because the reality is a lot of times people, thank you so much. A lot of times people don't know how to have conversations because they've been talked down to, and their defensive system may be worried that somebody's going to talk down to them. I know mine was. Mine was for a long time, was I had an expectation that somebody was talking down to me because I didn't realize I was smart, you know. So sometimes we title ourselves, we have that negative self-dialogue, and when we can reveal what our negative self-dialogue is, I realize, oh, wasn't smart, but I am smart. Oh, I thought it wasn't attractive, but I am attractive. She is the best and worthy moderator of this channel, isn't she, Mr. Simon Beard? Everyone give it up for Kim. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. I know, right? Treating adults like children. I need to do another one like that, don't I, Mr. Or Miss? Anyway, thank you so much for following me and for watching that. And yes, it does have a lot of views and it has a lot of likes too. And I did that one 5 years ago. See, this is the thing, is when we realize what imprint that we're leaving, and I'm so grateful that people can still see that today. Thank you, Mr. Summonbeard. Tom's. Well, thank you very much, Tom Doctrina. You're from Georgia? Awesome. So you got the Southern thing going on too. Yeah, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm sitting near beautiful Cancun now because my coach, I call my fairy goddess mother, and she helped me make my dreams come true. And that's what, as a coach, I set my intention and motivation to do, is to help people make their dreams come true and realize that they are good enough, and that everything is, that there's two sides to us and everything is inside of us. It's not all out there, it's in here. And you are so multidimensional, multifaceted, and to embrace ourselves. Yeah. A house tour. Well, my house isn't much. It's a little small 2-bedroom house and it's a mess right now. So maybe, Mr. Summonbeater, I'll give you a house tour later. I do have a rooftop that I go to every morning time, and I do my prayer and meditation things. I'm so grateful when I get up in the morning. Gratitude carries you a long way. And so when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is go up to my roof and look at the stars. And the stars kind of look like all the atoms, all the things that fire in your system. I know Kim saw my Unbound Self presentation, and I'm going to sell that to Udemy, I think. And so this next week, that's what I'm going to be working on, is where our neural pathways and our chakras can align with each other, about understanding that there's so much going on with your neural pathways. But when we understand our chakras, we understand how our thoughts and our feelings are impressing the neural pathways to release those chemicals and things like this. And when you look at that, Novart, hello, Novart School. Hello. So when we look at that, that's like looking at the galaxy when I get up in the morning, right? Kim, you saw the demonstration, like looking at all the cellular things and the structures, the things that are popping up in our bodies and mind, from our minds. And we have like your brain and your head, but you got your heart brain and your gut brain too. And when all of this is firing and wiring our systems, see, to have that relationship, not only do I have a relationship with my addiction, I have a relationship with my body, and my relationship with my addiction, I'm going to have 29 years, just like the 14th of June. I have 29 years without drugs and alcohol, so yeah, I had no idea why my stomach got so upset about certain things till I learned in that. I know, right? We don't realize what all's going on in our body that's influenced by our thoughts and our feelings. And so when that is empowerment, when we realize that, oh, I can control my reactions, my responses. Am I going to react or respond? Because all these chemicals and all those nerve centers are responding or reacting as well. It's not raining, Mama? Well, maybe later. Yeah. So that's what we've been talking about. And so, like I said, tomorrow we'll be talking about that plaque, right, Mom? That you had that plaque, Children Learn What They Live. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow, because it makes a lot of sense is this a learned behavior, or is this, a behavior that I want? Because we can change, we can unlearn unlearned behaviors if they're not comfortable for us. If they're a survival skill, we can turn those to a tangible tool. Greg, you've been fasting since Thursday. You feel great. Awesome. Getting a clean system, huh? Are you drinking liquids though? Novart School. Thought about Annie Rand. No, I haven't thought about that. I'll have to write that down. I get to learn just as much on here too. Where'd my pen go? I always got pens. Annie Rand. Well, that one don't want to work. I guess it needs to go in the trash. Robbie. Yes, I'll be back on tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about Children Learn What They Live. And that may or may not seem, but I want you to be able to not just you, but I want everyone to be able to make that connection about how we can unlearn some learned behaviors. Objective philosophy. I like that. Aaron Rand. Aaron Rand. Okay, I will look it up and we will. Ayn Rand. Okay, Ayn Rand. Gotcha now. Thank you. I will look it up and see what I think, if I relate. Apple cider vinegar and water. Yes, I drink that too, but I still eat. But I drank that. They say to drink that like 30 minutes before meals. Grinch loves apple cider water and vinegar, but I put honey in mine too. I put honey in it. I do cheat. I put the honey in it to give it a little better. You found that in a pediatrician's office when we were little. Well, that was good. You did have that for a long time. I don't know if you still have it, but we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. Apple cider vinegar with honey works like a charm. Yes, it is good. That's so funny you brought that up, Novart School Transcendence. I just watched that. I'm a big Johnny Depp fan. If any of y'all know Johnny Depp, I want to be his mindset coach. But anyway, I was watching Transcendence yesterday, as a matter of fact. Hey, Robbie and John get to connect. John, can you see Robbie's comments? Who was it? Rodolfo wasn't able to see your comments, right, Robbie? Mr. Salmonbeer, you think it's your time to leave? Bye. Thank you so much, Mr. Salmonbeer. Thank you for being here, and I will look for your email, okay? All right. Thank you, Kim, for putting it in there. She is the best moderator. So, yeah. You like Johnny Depp too? Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think that I love. Okay, bye-bye. You have a wonderful week. I hope to see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Is that Johnny Depp has taken those characters, like from my childhood, Willy Wonka, and these kind of characters from my childhood, and tweaked his little spin on it. But he plays the dark characters, and he gives you an objective view of things. 5'8" stone with you're doing so good, Rob. So good, Greg, Robbie. He is so cool. Johnny Depp. He is so cool. He is a lot of depth. I would love to be his mindset coach. I mean, I don't know who would be teaching who, because he's amazing. Such a legend, right? He's had quite a journey, and he ain't trying to be anything other than who he is, for sure. Yes, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yes, Willy Wonka. Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What is another one? And then the Neverland. He's done a lot of good ones. Yeah, Don. There's something about him and his handsome. Yeah. John London. Johnny Depp really needed a mindset coach when he had a kind of shopping addiction for hire and bad investments. He went bankrupt. Yes, and he needed me for a sober coach too. I think he might still need me for a sober coach, right? I don't know. He needs me for a sober coach. I could help him. I think he does have addiction, codependency, and grief. He's had a lot of loss in his life. He is an amazing actor. Yeah. He's had a lot of loss in his life. He's had the, codependency. I think he genuinely likes to take care of people. And, and it would be fun. If y'all know Johnny Depp, tell him I want to be his mindset coach if y'all run into him anywhere. Anyhow, on a serious note, let's do our breathing. Are y'all ready to breathe? Let's breathe, darlings. And, put those things out there in the universe. Never have seen an actor who's so relieved like him. He was smiling at the court too. I know he's embraced his twisted. He's kind of twisted, but I like it. Like, I've got the tattoo, "We're all mad here," tattooed on the back of my hip, because we are all kind of mad here. Not mad as in angry mad, but we're all kind of mad as in loving each other, letting ourselves be our own little quirky selves. I'm so glad you were here this morning, Dawn. I am. He did slay them in court. He sure did. And he brought out something that a lot of people don't consider, because there is, males are abused too, and he was definitely abused. And so I was so proud of him for being able to stand up, because there are males abused. Yeah. So I got my justice for Johnny Cup. I sure did. I had it like faded dark and light, when you put coffee in it, it got light. And so anyway, y'all ready to breathe? Ready to breathe, darlings? Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. Don, sending you so much energy, your way, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, okay? You're so worthy, valuable, and divine, and I want you all to breathe in that. You are all worthy, valuable, and divine. Yes, he does play mean guitar too. I wanted to go. I've got my Hollywood Vampires t-shirt too. I am a fan. He's in the Hollywood Vampires with Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and I forget everybody's names. But amazing artist. Yeah. And so I've got my Hollywood Vampires t-shirt. I wanted to go see him before COVID came. I have a friend that lives in Wales, and she and I were going to go see him. Rock on, right? And but I didn't get to go. I'm not going. They're touring in Europe now, here pretty soon. I'm not going to get to go this time, but I will one of these days. And I have a fantasy about having him sign my back where above where We're All Mad Here is, because they were doing meet and greets where they were doing autographs, and so he could sign my back to where above We're All Mad Here, and then I could have that tattooed too, right? Crazy. See, we don't have to be serious all the time. I encourage you. What happened? Let grow. Sorry. What? I didn't get it, Robbie. Let grow. Sorry. What? Anyway. Oh, no. Don't. No apologies. You mean about breathing? Is that what? Here we grow. Here we grow. Let's do the breathing. What the breathing does, if you're new here and if you're just now joining, because I think that Robbie, let's grow. Yes. What the breathing does is it helps you regulate. It helps you feel safe right in the moment. Right in the moment, you get to feel safe. And I had to learn that too. When I first started going to therapy, she's like, just breathe, because I was always running on empty, And she's like, just breathe, Stacy. Just breathe. And so it helped me to learn how to regulate. So that helped my central nervous system. You're, going into flight, fight, and freeze because I didn't feel unsafe when I was breathing. And it also is good for your respiratory system. When you slow your respiratory system down, you slow your heart rate down. You also get your digestive system feels good. So yes, he's been here when you've been here a lot, Don. Yeah, we're all a part of a community here. Kim, Ramon, Robbie, you, John London. Yes, we all care about you up in here, Miss Dawn. Am I missing anybody? I want to thank you all if you've just joined today. I want to welcome you, saving the damage, saving the damage. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. We are about to breathe. And, just sending out this energy to each other. Yes, 11. And Pammy, is Pammy here this morning? Oh, Angie, we got Angie T and Angela. We are missing Angie and Angela. We are missing some people this morning. We're also missing Flying Brian. Flying Brian's a part of this community. We're missing him. And we're missing some more people, but the ones that are here, I want to thank you for getting up and being here. It is going to be like belly breathing. Exactly. We breathe deep into our belly like Angie T. Exactly. We breathe into our belly like we just don't care. We get that belly full of air. And then we hold it, if you can, for 4 counts. Yes, Flying Brian. We're missing Flying Brian. McGlove was here earlier. We got McGlove too, but I think he had to go. So, yeah, there's a few, and there's somebody else that I'm missing. Yeah. Yes, Angela is usually here too. Tomorrow night, y'all join tomorrow night at 6:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we will resume, and we'll have everybody here maybe. Simon Beard, Mr. Simon Beard, exactly. Yes, thank you, Kim. So let's send everybody good energy out here, all of the community. Yes. My hat, my coat. All right, here we go. Here we grow. So we breathe in, hold it for 4 counts if you can. Just be comfortable. And then release gently and slowly out of your mouth, because we all want some gentleness and slowness. We need some gentleness in this world today. All right. John London, thank you. All right. Here we grow. Take a deep breath in. Fill it up and hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. Release. And there's 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Last one. Breathe. Hold it. And release. And one of the most important ones in the community is my mama. Do y'all remember Carol Burnett when she would sign off and do their earring thing to her mama? So yeah, my mama. She's my biggest fan. Grinch. Grinch, what the heck? Come here. Come here. You want me to start tapping? You're being asked to come out. There we go. There's the Grinch. There's the Grinch. Say hello. Grinch is all up in my hair. So yeah, and the Grinch. The Grinch is always here. Grinch is going potty. Not on me, Grinch. Not on me right now. Okay. Y'all have an amazing Sunday. Save the damage. Oh my days. I had asthma and it has reduced over the months because of breathing exercises. Unbelievable. That's great to hear. I am so glad that it was helpful. Yeah, because sometimes, there's different health things, but oh, you're very welcome, John London. If we can, the breathing, it helps us to regulate our systems in our body and to feel safe, but it also helps our cells to regenerate, right? So it sounds like that's what it's done for you, saving the image. As I'll learn how to say that once I keep practicing it. So I love you, Kim. You have a great day. We love you too, beautiful mama. Thank you for being here and being my #1 fan, John London. You have a great day too. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like this top and the jewelry that gets to go with it, and Grinch does too, apparently. You missed the breathing. You sure did. You didn't even come out. What was the matter? All right. Yes, everyone give Kim a hand for moderating today. Thank you so much, Kim. Love to you. All right. Bye, Ramon. Grinch does love the breathing. Grinch must have been sleeping or something, right, Dawn? I hope you're going to have a wonderful Saturday, Sunday, the rest of what's left of Sunday. And I hope that you're able to join us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Dawn. When I typed my first name, I forgot to keep the spaces. No worry. I like it. Okay, my beautiful mama, we'll see you tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm coming on at 6 because when daylight savings time comes, it's going to be later. But I also have a meditation at 8 Central Standard Time, and I've been late for the meditation because I get in here with y'all and I just get so excited and we just keep on and then I'm late for meditation. So this way, maybe I'll be on time for meditation. Whew. Well, just keep breathing, Dawn. Just keep breathing. Sending you lots of love and light. Okay. All right. Thank you, Saving the Damage. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Good night, Robbie. Yes, it's way late where you are, isn't it? Or early. All right. Thank y'all so much. I'll see you later. See you tomorrow night. Bye.